information, Mike. Wind at 320 degrees at 6, temperature 53, altimeter 3000.
People like you, organizations like Rampcheck, I love you guys.
4, 5, 6, 17 down, ready now.
You are clear for takeoff runway 21 left. Winds are calm. Stand by for the retrans on uniform. It's showtime.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Rampcheck podcast. I'm Tony Rumfollow.
I'm Aaron Rumfollow.
Good morning. I'm Ryan.
And it is actually morning this time.
It is morning. I got my coffee right here.
We're in Salt Lake City. That's right.
Yep, we're in Salt Lake City, Utah. It's June 3rd, 2020, 9:48 a.m., if that matters. Actually, it doesn't because it's recording. And who knows when the hell you'll be listening to this podcast. But
winds are calm. Temperature 80.
Thank you very much.
I know that's how it is in years.
And
and
for those
information alpha. Sorry.
Okay, copy
Go
that.
ahead.
All right. Tony Rumfollow with Alpha. Permission to land. Like we said, we're in Salt Lake City, Utah. We're actually in a suburb of Salt Lake City. Of course, a lot of you people are aware of everything that's going on around the country, around the world right now. Protesting, violence, rioting, all that stuff. The city of Salt Lake City is, and I got one of those emergency alerts on my phone last night. Did you guys get that too?
Yeah, they'll be happening all week, I think,
That,
just because of the curfew.
That freaked me the fuck out. I was watching Star Wars Rebels, nerd time, as I was falling asleep, and then the alert came through, and it woke me up.
Are you trying to be single? Because you're really playing that one hard.
Watching Rebels.
You've seen Rebels?
Hey, I like everything Star Wars, but I'm not sure I'd put it on a podcast.
Dude, Rebels
I
kicks
would.
ass.
He's fine.
Have you watched the
know.
4th season yet?
Oh, I've watched all of them.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I know what you're talking
I'm
about.
near the end of the 4th season, and
Yeah.
all right, this is maybe I'm going to remain single for the rest of my life moment, but at the end of the episodes, I kind of started tearing up a little bit.
Yes.
Hey, he's got a shovel right now.
Yeah.
You're just digging deeper.
I just signed a single card with permanent ink.
I know there has to be a single AvGeek Star Wars nerd female about 5'2", 1. Anyway, never mind. You've got to be out there, right? But anyway, so I got this emergency alert, and it scared me. But then I read
Really?
it.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like that come through on my phone before, and so it just kind of I don't know. I took a screenshot of it and saved it just for.
I know.
Yeah, you know, I mean, there was one, I think, bad evening downtown.
Mm-hmm.
They did burn one police car, which we can get into. I don't know how that helps anything, but it was mostly, if you watch the news and the crowd, it was just mostly like teenage kids. To me, it looked like just because they didn't have anything better to do, really.
Taking advantage of a serious situation.
Yeah.
And making it worse.
And taking away from what some of the people were probably there really trying to do.
Exactly.
So, I mean, we're basically, the point I'm making is that I think we're pretty lucky compared to what's happened in some other cities. So,
Right.
So yeah, the alerts are all week, I think, to just try to calm things down. But
Right. And I wanted to mention to our listeners that we are safe. We're good. They do have a curfew in effect. It's basically from
Just
8 p.m.
overnight.
until 6 a.m.
Yeah.
For Salt Lake City. And we're actually in a suburb of Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
We're probably about maybe 10, 15 miles from downtown, where we're at right now. So, and we hope that all of our listeners out there, we hope that you guys are staying safe. You're being smart. You're being respectful. It's kind of a fucked up time. I mean, I can't really put it any other way. We'll get through it. So I think I wanted to get that out before we really got into the meat of the podcast.
Yeah. And you know, and the one thing that I'll say about it too is to me, and I even put this out on my personal social media, is I just believe that, this country and really the world, that racism and discrimination and all those things are really pretty much good versus evil. And a good person isn't going to, discriminate, and they're not going to, just like Martin Luther King said, judge somebody by the content of their character.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what good people will do. And and evil people will be the ones that'll be like, well, he's white, so he's automatically a prick, or he's black, he's not a good person, or he's, or she's, from China, so, automatically they don't get a fair shake. And I just think that it really comes down to good versus evil, and if you're a good person, you're going to do good things, and you're going to give a fair shake to everybody, no matter what their background. And bad people are going to take advantage of situations and cause violence. And, same goes for the police officer that murdered this, and
the officers that didn't do anything about it.
So again, it just comes down to, not all, police officers are bad, not, all black people are bad, not all white people are bad, not all, it really just who's the good people among us, who's the bad people among us. And if we all the good people, if we band together and realize no matter what, good can prevail over evil, and that's just my take on it. And
it's a good take.
I just hope that everybody does stay safe, and I hope that I've always, and I'm sure I'm speaking for all three of us, we've always been for law and order.
That was a good show.
And and peaceful protesting. Absolutely. If something pisses you off, I mean, there's lots of subjects about aviation that we go off on the podcast. Yeah. And that's our way of protesting against stupid, things about aviation. So it's peaceful protesting.
Well, and
it's totally cool, and we support it.
And peaceful protesting can include anger and shouting and yelling, because you do have to let some of this stuff out, especially if you're really passionate about something that or like a wrong that's going on. But when it starts turning to violence and destruction of property and vandalism and disrespect and even threats toward life, people's well-being and that, and some of the images that I'm seeing, they're pretty heartbreaking. If people that agree that things need to happen or things need to change, but they're pleading with these people, these rioters, to not destroy their business or their home or whatever. And anyway, it's like Aaron said, be respectful, be cool, be smart, and and stay safe. Don't put yourself in a potentially bad situation, if you can avoid it. But
I don't get it. And when I say I don't get it, what I mean is I don't get the destruction of property. I don't get the loss of life that have happened both people amongst themselves. There have been some killings and shootings, beating up of old people trying to protect their stores.
The looting.
Yeah. The looting, I don't get it. And honestly, you guys heard me before we started the podcast.
We did.
I don't, it's almost like none of this has made anything easier for me from my standpoint as far as talking about it, because I've never seen so many arguments on social media. I've never seen so I've even experienced them in my personal life when it considers arguing with people, and this is just creating divide. And I don't have any quotes or anything in front of me, so I don't know if I'm gonna sound super educated or not, but I do remember just from learning in school you know, when Martin Luther King talked about how you can't drive darkness out with hate and darkness, like only the light can do that. And so I don't understand, you know, and I get angry when I see posts like, well, after Martin Luther King was assassinated, there were riots all over the country and then a change happened. It's like I don't condone violence. I just think it's stupid, and I 100% support the right to protest and the right to make things for people to want a change, and I'm on board for all of that. But I get so angry when I see people get killed in the streets, and literally these people are coming out of the shutdown. If they haven't lost their business, they're close to it, and then they get fucked over because it gets looted,
the unfortunate thing is the riots are destroying the communities
that are affected by this.
Everybody lives in, and so it's not going to help anybody. And I guarantee you, the people that are really passionate about, you know, whatever subject or topic, and they truly want change, and in this case, you know, a lot of people are pushing for, you know, equality and you know, your skin color, if your skin color is black, you know, you deserve everything that anybody else deserves, and I totally agree with that, but what's happening with the riots is totally overshadowing what the real subject is here, and the discussions that, you know, society needs to have about making sure everybody, no matter what, is important. And with the riots and the killings, and it's taking over the narrative, and it's too bad, because you know,
we're gonna start talking about aviation here, quickly. We had to address this. I just want to say one more thing before. So
me too.
Tell me, or ask yourself this question, or answer this question as you hear it. What does breaking into a store, breaking their windows, breaking down the storefront, whatever, going in and grabbing a 55-inch LED television have to do with human rights?
Well, it doesn't. It's just people creating chaos and just taking advantage of a situation.
Right. I mean, that's
an unfortunate thing.
Right. I'm just saying that's a rhetorical question that I'm asking.
Right.
So,
my last thought about it, and then we can move on, is and you know, an idea that, you know, possibly you know, people could think about is, I mean, I think first and foremost, everybody needs to take a look at themselves, you know, from any background, any race, any religion, and really hit home the point that nobody ever should have to apologize for who they are, or be embarrassed for who they are. It doesn't matter what background you are, you know, you have, what country you're from, what race you are, what religion, what belief, you know, and you know, it's, I mean, you could, in any situation, you know, you shouldn't have to apologize for who you are. So I don't know, let's just hope the country heals. Let's hope that you know, good prevails, and we can move on. But anyway, all right,
let's bring so on another note, our kind of funny how COVID's gone.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Interesting.
Where did it go?
Did COVID end?
The same media that was reporting how angry they were that people were social distancing on the beach and not wearing masks are the exact same media who isn't saying shit about the thousands of people rioting. I thought that's interesting, but I didn't bring up the COVID thing just to go into COVID. I brought it up to kind of like go into a couple things we want to talk about that are aviation related. Should we talk about the flyovers first?
Yeah,
that's
sure.
kind of related to COVID because we want to tell this doctor to basically go fuck himself. But excuse the language, but yeah. So the flyovers are done. That's kind of sad, only because we haven't had an air show in forever, and for us av geeks, we were loving the flyovers and the good news. But the Thunderbirds, the Blue Angels, as far as the United States goes, they said they were done.
Yeah.
But they didn't really give they kind of were beating around the bush for the exact answer, weren't they?
Yeah.
So what we want to talk about specifically is so there was an article, I think, from The Drive. Is that where it was from?
Yeah, the Warzone section of The Drive.
The Warzone section of The Drive. And the title of it is, I got it right here. The Air Force Thunderbirds say they're done with America Strong flyovers. The team says the recent flyover of Southern California was their last, even though it was thought more were originally in the works. So, obviously, that was sad news. There was some talk out there about a couple of the near miss and a couple of incidents as to why they stopped. But, as you kind of read this article, you think maybe, there were some other reasons.
You think? Well, first off, this... and I'm starting to get fired up here about this.
It's
but
okay.
anyway,
this one's a good one to get angry about.
But one of the first things is the timing of this was right after the I don't know if you want to call it not necessarily a near miss, but the incident
Slight
that they
course
avoided,
correction.
yes, over Southern California, the sneeze or the blink, whatever you want to call it, the unstable air. That video actually, it's pretty awesome, and we have it up on our Instagram page right now. That, of course, is at Rampcheck Global. If, for some reason you've never heard of us before and you're like, who the hell are these guys? We're the Rampcheck Podcast. Hi. But anyway, so there was that timing, but then there were a lot of people that were being critical of the flyovers. Tyler Rogaway in The Drive, this is quoting from his article. He says the flyovers were somewhat controversial from the start. The perception that the government was spending hundreds of thousands of dollars for each military flyover sortie, while first responders struggled to obtain personal protection equipment, PPE, which everybody knows.
See,
now.
I never thought that was a problem.
Me
well,
neither.
but that's what I'm saying. I'm reading this, and I should say,
and
quote
I don't know
unquote,
how the fuck this was controversial.
Right, exactly.
Flyovers.
Laid off Americans flocked to food banks for sustenance.
Okay.
And small businesses struggled to obtain government loans, struggle to obtain government loans was hard to overcome in some cases. Videos of harsh criticism of the flights have gone viral.
Really? Where the fuck are those?
Yeah,
because
I
I've
know.
never seen one.
Notably,
Found
there
one.
was one doctor who
But notice that
lambasted the aerial displays. And by the way, that video has since been removed.
I'm sure the doctor was so fucking embarrassed how stupid he looked.
God,
Yeah,
he
I
was
hope
like
that's
the
it.
most unpatriotic, uneducated, entitled. Anyway, so
Well, disrespectful.
totally disrespectful. So, as far as the hundreds of thousands of dollars, okay, that money was already, if you want to say already spent, because basically that was the air show budget for the year. What happened to the air shows? Oh, they got canceled.
Yeah.
And so, and there were a lot of people, excuse me, including us. Sorry, I didn't mean to cough on you guys.
That's all right. COVID's already on a flight back to China, apparently.
That's right.
Or it's gone.
But that money had already been allocated for these air shows, and I'm pretty sure these flyovers cost a hell of a lot less than the actual air shows themselves. So whatever that budgeted
sure.
money is going to go to next, that's fine. That's up to the military or whatever. But they're not spending all this additional money. And the reason of the flyovers was to show appreciation to not just the frontline healthcare workers. I think that was the first. Let these people know, hey, you know, it's a shit show out there. We want to just show your support. We're sorry we can't fly for you during air shows, but this is our show of support. And you know, the Thunderbirds and the Blue Angels teamed up. They did some flyovers together, which was really cool to see.
They did their own local units all over the country have been doing it.
Did their own individual flyovers, and you know, they can't stop and fly over every single state. Well, they can. That would be really cool, but they, you know, obviously for, I'm guessing, budget reasons, and they didn't want to send the wrong message. But anyway, so the local militaries, just like you know, the 388th Fighter Wing in Hill Air Force Base, they had their own flyovers of F-35s. We did an Instagram Live. I made an idiot out of myself during the flyover because it touched me personally. And I'm standing right next to a nurse who worked at the veterans home, and other healthcare workers, and you know, elderly people, young people. They're all by this. You know, where I was, we were social distancing. Jesus, don't get your panties in a wad. But everybody was moved by this. They were cheering for it. You know, the nurse that was next to me, she was touched by it. But so there's this one doctor who apparently just didn't fucking get it.
Well, and it's one of those disrespectful, entitled pricks that doesn't realize the United States exists because of our military.
Right.
If we don't have the protection of the military and we don't keep any kind of, you know, terrorism or wars away from our soil, like, we don't have the way of life that we get here, and we don't have the freedoms that we have, and we don't have the freedom to you know, protest, for that matter. We were just talking about that. That doctor wouldn't have the choices that he has to practice medicine the way that he does. He wouldn't have that voice that he's made a complete fucking idiot fool of himself.
Right.
So it's, you know, you're entitled to your opinion, even if it makes you, what did we title that one podcast?
Even if
it makes you
even if it makes you look like a dumbass.
Exactly.
Well, and for me, like, you think about, Tony, you were in St. George, right? So a small city in Utah, and you were with this group of people. They were all moved by it. Think what this must have done across the country for people, as far as like being moved by it, the sense of pride. Like, these healthcare workers are like, you know, damn, they're doing this like for us, you know. And then when people talk about hundreds of thousands of dollars, it's like, fuck, I'll give whatever money if it means like keeping the country like feeling swelled with pride and appreciation. Like, people are so goddamn stupid when they do shit like this, because they don't understand that, like, without that camaraderie and the pride as Americans and all that, like, and without the military protecting us, like, we have nothing. And so why does someone go out of their way to fucking criticize it when it's actually helping people? So what if it didn't help you? So what? It doesn't mean you have to take that away from everybody else. So, excuse my language again, but fuck this guy.
Mr. Doctor making whatever hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Another rich person that's not affected very much by it, and they're making their opinion behind their screen, and then probably going and taking advantage of the free country we live in.
Well, and it's funny how the video's down, because he probably got so much criticism for being such a dumbass.
Well, and the other thing, too, is the name of the doctor and the hospital that he works for was not revealed.
Of course.
Yeah, you think?
So,
pussy.
Typical of somebody doing that. And then, of course, I'm not saying who I am. I'm not saying where I'm at. I'm going to hide behind, you know, all the details.
Well, and let me clarify. When I say some rich doctor, maybe he's not. I wasn't trying to classify that. I'm just saying he probably isn't as struggling as much as some other people are. And if I'm wrong on that, so if you are struggling, this should have been something that helped you feel grateful for
Well,
where
and
you're
here's
at.
the other thing too. Since his name wasn't given and the hospital that he worked for, who's to say this wasn't just some schmuck that put on a pair of scrubs and claimed to be a doctor?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
You know,
I could do that. I
Could have been anybody, and maybe
And-
he was. But
And the guy who tweeted out this video, I'm just going to call him out right now because he did the tweet. His name is Tim Brannigan. He's you can follow him at Tim_Brannigan. This is what he said when he posted the video. This U.S. doctor has had enough of the tributes. He makes his point powerfully and impressively.
yeah, well, if you're impressed with that,
Yeah.
then you're a fucking idiot.
Exactly.
Because
So,
he was being so condescending in the video. Because I
was.
watched the video, as soon as the war zone, the drive put out this article, and he was going on and on about these flyovers they're ridiculous, their cost, and the Blue Angels and the Flying Wizards. Like, he was being such a fucking prick.
so condescending.
And I just, oh my God. It was so, and to be that disrespectful to our United States military, like, I will never, ever, ever stand something like that, and I will always say something about
Yeah,
it. Because,
And that
always
goes
call
for
him
any
out.
branch of the freaking military. Like,
yeah.
And the way I see what the Thunderbirds and Blue Angels did, I bet they got in a room, they talked about this, they talked about people and their comments, and they were just like, you know what, guys? We love, like, our healthcare workers and all the people that were stuck in their homes, but they're probably like, it ain't fucking worth it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't mean when they say that it ain't worth it, like, that they didn't want to do it for Americans anymore. But I bet they were just like, fuck it then. If people are going to be all pissed and
I would
people
be.
get,
No one's
yeah,
gonna
that's what I'm
appreciate
saying.
that.
Yeah,
That's
but
what I'm
see,
saying.
I think the people that aren't appreciating it are definitely in the minority.
Well, I believe
And-
so.
Well,
and
thankfully they
and-
got a ton of the flyovers in
Yeah,
before.
and I think that the Thunderbirds, the Blue Angels, or all these flyovers, I think that they planned a handful of them, and then they said, okay, let's reevaluate where we're at when we get to a certain point. And I mean, because that's how the military does it. It's not like they just throw out a fishing net and see where it lands. It's like they're very calculated. They're very let's reevaluate everything. And I'm sure that after they did those quite a few flyovers, these tribute flyovers that they're just like, okay, well, let's just reevaluate.
Yeah.
And,
Well, and you're probably right. I was throwing
know.
more of my own opinion twist on it. Like,
yeah,
I know that's not how things should work in life, but
I just think most people are.
I would.
patriotic.
Exactly.
You personally, right?
I
get
just
it.
personally, it's like I see what they do as such a big deal and so important. So in other words, I should say I hope they were just like,
Yeah.
fuck these guys that don't appreciate it. And you know what? We'll go back to training and getting ready for things to come.
Exactly. If you want to read that story, we had thought that we put it up on rampcheckreport.com.
We'll get it up.
But we'll get it back up there. So go to it's our aviation and aerospace news website, and that's just go to rampcheckglobal.com. You'll see a link to the Rampcheck report and also a link to the Ramp Swag store, and we can talk about some of that Ramp Swag here in just a minute.
And you won't see the video because the
video's down.
Said it's down, but you
but-
can see the article.
But
right?
there are other videos that are still up there about doctors and nurses across the country that are actually cheering this. And
Well, the day that the 388th Fighter Wing and the F-35 demo team did the 4-ship flyover of the whole state of Utah, I mean, they covered the whole state.
They did.
They covered
Yeah, in
all
like
the
an hour.
population areas. I mean, southern Utah, northern Utah. And at the location that I saw it and photographed it, it was one of the local hospitals here in the outlying, parts of Salt Lake City. And there were, hundreds of hospital workers and public and everybody that all came out and everybody cheered. And it gave me chills and it made me choke up and just, the I mean, the environment was 100% support and appreciation for what they were doing.
Pride, dude.
And exactly, pride and patriotism, and that's exactly what it was about.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about our military letting all of us know that they've got our backs.
Mm-hmm.
And if shit goes south quickly, they're gonna fucking protect us.
Well, and
they appreciate everything that everybody else was doing during this pandemic.
Well, I have tickle in my throat.
Yeah.
But it's like, yes, they have our backs, and you know, if you go back to our interviews that we had with Mark Casera, our Sluggo Sends Part 1 and 2, previous episodes of the podcast. In fact, Sluggo Sends Part 2 was the last episode that
Happy
we just
birthday,
put up.
Mark.
Oh yeah, we actually posted that on his birthday, so that was kind of cool.
That was for you.
But Mark Casera said that the military also has a humanitarian mission.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that this was a perfect example of the humanitarian side of our United States military. Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah.
Also, you just shared a video from Spinny Side Up.
Yeah.
On our Instagram.
That's right.
That's actually a really cool video. I'm sorry there's not a sunset in this one, but Hess.
I think Hess is gonna slap your ass next
Yes,
time.
he is. By the way,
I know anyone was looking at the helicopter in the video, or are they just looking at the jets?
Hess and his sunsets. I love it. Anyway, we had Hess also as well. Spinny Side Up, previous episode on the podcast, but. That was a cool video too, and it showed everybody's reactions to the flyovers. Yep. And speaking of Spinny Side Up, by the way, we're running a test. We're doing a video recording of the Rampcheck podcast. We can
I forgot that was there.
Yep. And speaking of Spinny Side Up, Hess, thank you once again for the hat. So hashtag helicopters do matter. But anyway.
So weird.
So all right, so we can move on to our next subject if you guys want to.
Sure.
Lots of stuff to talk about. Of course, I was down in Victorville looking at a lot of the jets that have been grounded, and really kind of what I got out of my trip is I was expecting to see a ton of airlines that were grounded because of the lack of demand because of the COVID crisis. And I did. I saw, a bunch of Delta jets varying. I mean, I saw, a bunch of other ones that had been in storage for a while that were getting ready to be, dismantled and scrapped or whatever.
Yeah.
But I saw more 737 Maxes than anything out there. And we'll get some pictures of that. We did do an Instagram live, but I wasn't over by the Maxes when we did that. So
right.
We'll get some of those pictures up there. But I mean, there's zero future now for the A380.
Yeah.
Lots of airlines are retiring their large jets, the 747s, which is just, it's so sad. I mean, I'm gonna miss seeing those. But Qantas.
Well, luckily for the 747, there's going to be freighters that are being flying for decades.
Absolutely.
So we'll still see.
Absolutely. And there will still be some passenger 747s out there. They just won't be as much.
Exactly.
Qantas just announced on the 28th that they're replacing their 747 fleet with the 787 Dreamliner, which is a cool thing. So that's Boeing for Boeing, which is really nice. And another story, and I'm sorry, I'm shaking my head at this one.
This is the one I thought we were going to transition into when I said COVID was going away, but the doctor thing still had to do with it as well.
Well, but this kind of still relates because everybody is still panicked. Well, everybody forgot about it.
Yeah.
But
well, the rule is it's practice social distancing unless you're protesting.
Oh, that's right.
Right? Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And
well, unless you're rioting, really, is what it is. It's
That's true.
Because most
but
of
I
the
even
people,
saw
most
some
of the
protests
people,
where they weren't.
yeah,
apart.
I know.
Yeah.
Most of the protests, like people are being like respectful and like trying
Right.
to be trying to follow the COVID rules. And then it's the rioters that are like,
Yeah.
Whatever.
That's true.
But I don't know. But
It's just so funny how it just
I
kind
know.
of,
Well, what-
it was every day on the news. That's all they would talk about for 40 straight minutes. And literally this morning, I watched the news while my girlfriend and I were getting ready.
Yeah.
And I didn't hear one thing about COVID.
Oh, of course, it's because
not one.
well, and we talked about this in past, in our past couple COVID episodes where we mentioned it is the media just pushes what they want to push.
Yeah.
And if they want to freak everybody out with something, then hello COVID.
Oh yeah.
And then on to the next thing.
Yeah.
It's the media in this country and in a lot of places around the world, man, they're just garbage. It's just ridiculous.
It's
But
Excuse me. Can you get 6 feet away from me before you throw that brick, please?
yeah,
I know,
well,
right?
that's
Plus,
what
it'll
happened.
hurt less if you throw it at my head if you're 6 feet away.
Yeah, and then if you have COVID, you're actually putting me out of my misery. So thank you.
That's right.
No, it's a joke. But here's the thing: is this article that we're going to talk about? It really kind of ties into: do the airlines want to recover?
Right.
Like, because we talked about that in our last episode
and-
when we were talking about COVID.
Right, but another
And
thing that
some
we
of the
talked about.
ridiculous things that they're implementing.
Well, another thing we talked about too, and everybody's coming up with all these things, that we can do this, we can do this. It's like, so they're talking about this new normal.
no,
I don't see a new fucking normal.
Yeah, no, we don't.
Because-
we don't need a new
Remember
quote
the other
unquote
tenants in the
normal.
building. brother.
Oh, that's true. Sorry, folks. Anyway, but we don't need that because it's something that we're going to adapt to.
Yeah.
You look at Sweden and you look at what they did. They developed herd immunity. Pretty sure there's not going to be a new normal in Sweden.
Yeah.
Well,
no.
I shared an
And-
article with you, Tony, just yesterday, and I didn't share it with you just because we were talking on the
my
phone. But
Sure.
the doctor, sorry, Banner, you feel left out.
Well, we're sharing it with you now.
The doctor that originally put the 2 million dead in the United States, the model,
Yeah.
he finally came out in public and was like, yeah, I was wrong.
Yeah. No shit.
And not only that, not only him saying he was wrong, he was like, if you look at Sweden and you look at the United States, because obviously the populations are different, he's like, not only was I wrong, Sweden has per capita, I guess that's how you would say it, about the same numbers as the United States. So in other words, if you adjust mathematically the population of Sweden and the US, it's about the same. And he's like, yeah, places like the United States probably would have had the exact same numbers without shutdowns.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
Oh, I
Right.
agree.
And it's like,
all the numbers show that.
wow, and that's
It's
just
a joke.
so interesting to me because
Well, it is, but you see information like this come out, and people just like brush it aside because it doesn't fit their agendas, and they want this new normal. And now, Aaron, you're talking, and we're transitioning into this next story. I swear we're going to get to it. But you're right. Do the airlines really want to recover? Because some of the things that they're doing now, granted, people aren't going to fly until they feel safe. We talked about that in one of our previous
but
episodes.
what people though? Are they the ones
Right.
that are like, let's just put everybody in a plastic tube and fly? Like that's
Right.
not realistic.
it's gonna be here just like and I'm gonna keep this aviation, but what I was gonna say was even with the vaccine, there's probably gonna be between 50 and 100,000 people die of COVID-19, just like the flu kills between 50 and 100,000 every year
It'll
with the
just
vaccine.
be every year.
It'll
It's
just be another illness that
Right.
Yeah, I know, and there's, and the thing that's kind of irking me about the airlines is they're
right on cue.
Way to sneeze
Sorry.
into your elbow, brother.
Sorry,
oh,
Aaron.
there goes those COVID droplets.
However, does anybody have a tissue? Yeah.
It was into my shirt. Sorry, I didn't mean. I was trying so hard to hold that in.
Yeah,
and-
that was a good one. I'm sure that came through good.
So,
But what I was saying was, the airlines, they're trying to get back to, gosh.
Well, they're
Some
trying to do
normalcy,
anything
some
and
money
everything to get people
fly.
back on the airplane.
Exactly. And we said this in our last episode that we talked about this is everybody wearing masks, everybody, with all this PPE. It's not a good look. It doesn't give the average person the feeling of, wow, flying looks safe. Like,
yeah.
It all it says is, oh, geez, that's pretty dangerous. I mean, everybody's got to cover up.
Well, yeah,
everybody's got to
exactly.
And I guarantee you, there's more of the population that would be willing, to fly and to get back, to it is, if there weren't so many damn restrictions on what to do. I mean, there are airlines that are actually taking your temperature before you get on. And if you have a temperature of a certain, they're like, you're not flying. So it's like, that's just ridiculous.
So dumb.
Well,
it really is.
Ryan, you went to the Apple store yesterday.
Yep.
And if you're buying accessories, they won't let you in.
You have to order online.
If you're going to go in the store to buy a phone or a
yep.
tablet, you have to make an appointment. But then they check your temperature before you go in.
Yep. They had guys there. They weren't even Apple employees because, the Apple employees always wear their blue Apple shirts.
Right.
It's a guy, you can tell they're a contracted company.
Of course.
In a different uniform, they're holding the little temperature scanner, and someone showed up for their appointment, and they make them sign a form that they don't have any symptoms, and they scan it. And I think it's horse shit. And just like
it is,
when we're gonna get into this article, but like,
right.
How
many times have we said that?
When it comes down to the airlines, what the hell is wrong with just opening everything as like normal as far as aviation goes when you're flying, and then just putting in the wording? If it makes you feel comfortable, then you can wear a mask.
Yeah.
But don't fucking require
But here's the thing. If I wear a mask, it's not to protect me.
Brother, you've got to keep the voice down.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm fired up about this. So
that's what I'm saying. So if you want to wear a mask,
when a doctor
to protect yourself, wear it.
When you go into surgery, are you wearing the mask? No.
I don't think so.
The doctor, the nurses, the anesthesiologist, anybody else who's in there, they're wearing a mask to protect you from their germs because they're opening up your body. So, the purpose of wearing a mask is to protect other people. I know, I get it. Well, but you might have it and not have symptoms, blah, blah, blah. So, if you're sick, don't get on an airplane. But if you have to get on an airplane and you're sick, then wear a mask to protect others from getting sick.
Right.
Period. That's all it should be.
If the airlines want to hand out, wet wipes and hand sanitizer, and fine, like, do those things. But gosh, don't restrict people to doing things that are not proven 100% to be effective, and in every case. And then this isn't something that even if you got COVID, you're gonna just kill over and die the next day.
Right.
I mean, this is something that man has been flying on the airlines for decades, with other illnesses, other viruses, other diseases. And it's fine, and air travel was just fine. We don't have to change everything.
Human nature
just because we live in the day and age of social media and a media that just pushes different narratives and whatever they think is true, even though it may not be. We don't need to change everything to accommodate all that.
Well, and here's the thing too, though. If they're making everybody wear masks and wear gloves and whatever other PPE that's out there, so you're telling me that if we don't ever catch a germ ever again, that's going to be good for society?
Yeah, no.
Nobody's going to develop immunity to anything.
Yeah.
That's going to kill off more people.
Yeah. Oh,
because
I totally agree.
That's kind of the debate out there.
Well, and then what about all the kids on these airline flights? They can't wear a mask. There's no fucking way my 1.5-year-old would wear a mask.
Right.
And so he's not as important as everybody else, or vice versa, or like... I also read on an airline website about, all the PPE and everything, and they're like, and there are certain, you know, people that don't have to, you know, people with asthma or people that have issues with, you know, wearing a mask, and it's just, oh my God.
Well, it doesn't make sense.
So then that just exposes everybody, and that's okay?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
It really is, you know, everyone knows how we feel about all of it, so it's not, I'm trying to reiterate
basically
that. It's just, we need the airline industry to come back, and this is not the way.
If you think about this scientifically, all of these measures, quote unquote, that they're taking, they're from a PR standpoint.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
Exactly.
Because none of it is practical. None of it does what people think that it does. And so we might as well just start talking about this story. Oh, one more thing though that I want to bring up before we get
right.
So
cliffhanger.
So a lot of casinos are starting to open across the country
Yeah.
now, you know, especially in Las Vegas. In fact, today's June 3rd, so they open tomorrow.
Yeah.
But some of the casinos in like California that are, you know, owned by the Native American tribes
right.
and things like that. So I was reading a story about that, and the casinos, they're requiring people to wear masks. These casinos, the Vegas ones, fortunately, are not. They're
so you're supposed to
encouraging
cut
it.
a hole in the mask for your cigar.
Well, that's what
or
I'm
your
saying.
cigarette.
So
what the fuck?
you're required to wear a mask in the casino unless you are actively smoking.
Oh, well, that's great. So let's just push the health narrative on this one.
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing is when you're smoking, you're literally blowing out the air from inside your lungs into the air. So, but then when you're done, put a mask on. Dude, zero
it's just
sense.
Well,
the
you're
dumbest-
touching the slot machine, then you're touching the cigarette, then you're touching your mask, then you're touching your face. It's all for looks. None of it is
Yeah.
practical.
Doesn't
But
make
Which,
sense.
so-
which is crazy, but it's like, do you know, I would be willing to bet. Now, I have no data to back this up. This is just a feeling that I have.
Yeah.
I bet you there are more people out there that would support not having to live under these stupid restrictions than there are people that do.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I think slowly, you know, casinos and the airlines and businesses for that matter that have started to reopen requiring masks and shit, like Costco and, you know, and you were just talking about the Apple store. Like, I guarantee you everybody's going to start realizing, oh my God, we can't keep doing this. It's hurting our business.
When I was at the mall yesterday, I saw a kid and half his face was covered, so I couldn't tell for sure how old he was. I say kid because I'm guessing maybe 16.
Yeah.
Dude, he had one of those surgical-looking medical masks on,
Yeah.
and the middle part of it, where his fucking mouth was, had started to, like, discolor.
Oh.
Because he's probably been
my
wearing
God.
it every day
Oh,
since the pandemic
ew.
started. And I literally am looking at this, and I just wanted to be like,
Wow.
dude, do you realize that thing needs to be clean? Do you
Or
That's-
brush your teeth.
that's
your
that's
goddamn
worse.
breath.
that's
my
worse
God,
than
dude.
not wearing a mask.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking,
No,
like,
it is.
I hope he
Oh,
hasn't
man.
shared that mask with anybody. Like, anyway, let's get to
No.
the article.
So,
what
I
is
guess
it? Is
what
it
we
an
were-
airline or is
Yeah,
it?
no, I guess what the reason why we started talking about this is because we were, you know, certain people with certain agendas are wanting to accept the fact that there's a new normal coming.
Yeah.
And I think it's horseshit.
There shouldn't be.
But again, so some of these companies, they're doing all these different things so they can, I don't know if it's necessarily to profit off of it, but maybe they see an opportunity. Well, I don't see an opportunity because none of this shit is going to be necessary, and it shouldn't be necessary. So there's a company called Safran, Safran, and
Do you think
is this
they're out of San Francisco?
maybe
it's
San Fran?
Saffron, not San
Safran.
Fran. Okay.
But I think they're out of Europe actually.
Yeah. Saffron.
And is this story up on Rampcheck Report yet, Aaron?
No, because
Okay.
it just came out, and
So this just came out. We haven't had a chance to update this, but by the time you hear the podcast, this will be up on Rampcheck Report. So this is a company that does aircraft interiors, and they've got a mock-up of some of the things that they're going to do to create social distancing aircraft interiors. And if you look at some of this shit, I mean, one of the things that I see is first off plexiglass between the seats.
Yeah.
Like a police car between the
An actual plexiglass
back.
barrier. Yeah. Okay. So in the event of an emergency, how do you get past this? Ryan keeps telling me to tone it down. I'm sorry.
Good God, my right ear is ringing.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, an emergency.
Keep going,
it's
keep
a
going. An
joke.
emergency.
So where does emergency egress happen now?
Well, and not only that, I'm pretty sure that any bug that you're gonna spew out your mouth doesn't give a shit about plexiglass, and it's gonna just fly right over it or right in front of it, or like it's
an
such a
aircraft cabin.
joke.
Like you're in an enclosed space, like a plexiglass, whatever. It's like you said, we're not gonna have freaking glass bubble or plastic bubbles we're flying in. Like, dude, it's so weird. Okay, so here's what I think when I look at this, brothers. I think, hey, actually, that'd be kind of nice because I could lean my head against it, and my neck won't kink when I sleep on a plane. But then I'm thinking, but that means people are gonna sneeze on them.
Well, not
like
imagine sitting
cough on
in the middle seat. How
you've got
fucking phobic
you
that
can't
would
even
be.
put your elbows out. Like, dude,
That's a joke.
Well,
this,
I can't.
This is not helpful.
I can't see the FAA approving this. I can't at
No
all.
way.
So the I guess this guy is the owner of this company. He believes that the recovery from the COVID-19 crisis will spur airlines to think differently about their cabins. This is a quote from him. His last name is Murier. I don't even know or care what his first name is. Although the industry, this is a British company. Although the industry has been hit badly, we foresee a lot of upgrade and retrofit activity. The post-COVID environment will create new needs and new opportunities. Mr. Mueller, no, it fucking won't. It won't.
Yeah.
Listen, like, and I'm not taking the other side. I'm just gonna say, listen, he's probably a business-minded individual. That's probably just like, I'm trying to think about how to be productive and make some money.
Sure.
And dude, listen, we're not being critical of you for that. If for some reason you remotely end up have a remote chance of listening to this podcast, like, we understand that you're trying to be innovative, but our point is the airline industry, because of what's coming out with data and all that and how things have been before, we don't need to fucking do this.
Yeah.
We don't. So we don't want this as people who support the aviation community, who travel, who love to go places with their family. This is not how we want to fucking fly, and it's just going to create more problems.
Well, think of all the additional cost it's going to incur to the airlines. Yeah. Now, one thing that I've learned working in the airline industry over the years is when things cost the airlines more money, guess what? Things cost passengers more money.
Oh, yeah.
So the price of flights is going to go way up. If you want to keep people away, then you'll be doing stuff like this.
Sorry, I had someone at my front door. Oh, I wanted to look.
I heard a bird chirping.
We got a bird nest by my front door, so I apologize for that.
But anyway, I don't see this as practical.
No, I don't. I don't want to feel like I'm flying on Con Air and then I'm a criminal.
Right.
Well, dude,
getting on an airplane.
Do you know how hard it is to get to that window seat in some of the planes? Like,
oh yeah.
And you think that plexiglass is gonna make it any easier?
Well, and here's another example too. So they've got on 2 aisles in front of that, if you guys look at this picture, there's like this cloth band that goes from like the seat back to seat back and completely blocks it off.
It looks like one of those things that you can put in your car window that you pull down for kids to block the sun.
But it's like, how is that
goes horizontal instead of vertical.
This is all this is. It's just for appearances. That's it. It's not going to do anything. You know, although, I mean,
need to.
I guess it would be, if you're in the plexiglass business right now, hey, way to go.
Seriously,
but
that's
enjoy the ride, because it's going to end. Because this plexiglass stuff, it will go away. There is not going to be a new normal. We've made it into the year 2020 without plexiglass and social distancing and wearing face masks in public. And not wearing gloves or PPE or, you know, all this bullshit. We've made it this far. So why all of a sudden do we have to change the entire way of life to make it further?
We don't.
We don't.
And we
you
don't.
know, things I'm okay with, like, I'm okay with now when I go to a drive-through that the debit card scanner's hanging out there and I put my card in and pull it out. Like, I'm okay with stuff like that. Like, it's not a huge inconvenience, but the shit that's inconveniencing, that's unnecessary is stupid. I don't agree with this. Like, I mean, we've got to recover the airline industry, and I feel so bad for so many people we know that just have been hit hard by this.
Mm-hmm.
And this, just like I said, this just isn't the way. It ain't it to me. Like,
yeah, and there's lots of posts, and we even, you know, put up some stickers and some T-shirts. It's like, you know, buy airline tickets like you bought toilet paper.
That was awesome. I love it.
That's what we need to do, but I just fear that if the airlines are going to be enacting just stuff like this, God, I want them to succeed, but don't be stupid about it.
Exactly.
Don't
be smart.
You know, because I mean, on our podcast, look, okay, we don't sit down like industry professionals and try to talk out all the data and this and this. Like, we have look, we are industry professionals in the sense that we do have decades of experience spread around all of us,
right?
But we try to bring the reality perspective to it, and I think that's what we're doing,
right?
Is we're explaining
with our own personal opinion.
Well, yeah, of course,
that's who we are,
but
dude.
But the reality is, if airlines are going to be doing this, it is going to be more difficult for them to recover.
Yes.
Period.
And it's going to take a lot longer for them to recover because...
And mark my words, like, if they do this, we're going to be talking about this 2 years from now, how they're still struggling and,
right.
And
are these ideas coming from their PR team? Because, again,
right.
There's nothing scientifically based on what they're trying to do.
So
science doesn't work. And it's all from a PR standpoint.
Right.
And they think that maybe they'll be able to get people flying more quickly because of this. But you're wrong.
Yeah, let's not restart the airlines based on, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Yeah.
Right.
Bullshit.
Like hard data, exactly. And the other thing I'll say really quick to someone who's listening going, oh, you don't know any airline. Like, in your defense, in people that are thinking that way, like, I get it that, like, let's take the island of Kauai, for example. Like, I actually looked into getting Deanna and I went there, and I loved it, and I want to go back. So I looked just for fun to see, like, pricing. But did you know right now, if you go to Kauai, with them being in quarantine, if you're there as a tourist and they have to lock down and quarantine for any reason, you're there for 14 days. They're not allowing people out of their hotel rooms.
Right. It's a joke.
And they're saying you have to eat by room service. They're not letting you go to the beach, the pool. So I think what's happening is people are like, well, I don't want to fucking go to Hawaii and then be stuck there for 2 weeks. So
and not be able to do anything.
And that is a factor that's not the airline's fault. Like, people are just scared to go there, and so we understand. Our point is the airlines shouldn't be doing shit for a new normal. That's how I feel. Like, open up as normal. People will eventually feel safe.
People that want to wear a mask will wear a mask.
Right.
People that want to over-sanitize can over-sanitize.
Right.
I mean, if anything, to me, a smart solution, if the airlines really want to try to show, is put one of those little fucking walk-through sanitizing stations right before you get on the airplane. It just, like, missed you with, like, a little sanitizer. Like, just do something stupid as that.
Something simple. Yeah,
I mean, I don't know.
And just keep encouraging people if you're sick. Maybe that's not the best time to fly somewhere.
Probably not.
I mean? Like, but I look at it anyway as, like, I'm not gonna do that anyway. If I'm, like, really sick, I'm not gonna go somewhere. And then maybe someone who's been planning a vacation, then they get sick. They're like, oh, I still want to go. But guess what? Maybe that's the time then you should think about wearing a mask to protect other people from your illness.
Exactly.
Like, and who knows even what illness you have. It's just, oh man, it's so frustrating. Like here in Utah, they're talking about finally going to green soon, and it was, what stood out to me was like the governor said, I can't quote it exactly, but he's like there's a good possibility the state of Utah could be going to green here in the next week or two, and he's like, it's because the people who do contract COVID-19, 99% of them are just fine. So he's like, I'm looking into doing that because 99% is a good number to get things closer to normal. And then of course there's a board of like all these healthcare professionals, and some of them are like, well, we can go to green, but we're still gonna recommend masks. You know, it's like, no, if we're going to green, let's just fucking get back to normal.
Right.
But anyway, I wasn't trying to veer off the airlines. I'm just making the point. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, that I want to do a quick data correction I did in I can't remember if it was the last episode or before. I was talking about a survival rate of like 98.5%. I was wrong. It's over 99%.
Oh.
And the reason I read an article.
Get your facts straight, brother.
I read an article and I was like, shit, I probably sounded like a dumbass, because if it was 98.5%, that's actually a lot more deaths than
over 99%.
than what the U.S. currently has.
Right.
So I was wrong in that. I was just throwing something out in my head that I thought that I had read that was a good number, but it's the survival rate.
Yeah,
It's
over
over 99%.
And of course, it, you know, if you're over 70 years old, your risk of getting sick goes up. You know, it's like
not really your
3 to 5%. If you're over 70, you can get sick.
Well,
Yeah.
but
And
but
sick
it's
enough
not
to die.
It's
but
not
it's not a guaranteed death sentence.
Exactly.
Right, and it's not that if you're over 70, you run a greater risk of getting sick. It's if you're over 70, if you do get sick, you run a greater risk of having more
Right.
severe
So
symptoms.
people get out there.
Right.
Right.
Get out there and, you know.
Just let's get back to normal.
You know,
Lord.
I don't know why this
Yeah,
thought
dude.
just popped into my head, but when I used to work the line out in Salt Lake City, we used to have this 737-200 come in for a fuel stop called Casino Express.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I remember Casino
remember.
Express.
And it was funny because I used to have to go up into the aircraft and, you know, take care of some things and help them, and it was probably all people over 80.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah, man.
And I'm thinking, like, you know, it just made me think of that, and I totally remember us, like,
Yeah,
you know, when it was
let's
coming
hope
in.
that aircraft never needs to, you know,
A quick
a
egress.
quick
Yeah,
egress.
exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
But anyway, people travel, man. Let's get this airline industry
Yeah.
back, and
Definitely.
let's start now that states are opening up and going to, like, you know. But the problem is now people are probably not going to want, like, who wants to go to New York right now?
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Oh
I-
yeah.
okay,
California, LA, Santa Monica.
I love our
Yeah.
listeners in New York, but I didn't have a desire to go to New York again, even before the shit hit the fan.
Well,
So-
it's just like, man.
or New York
I
City,
just-
I should
just
say.
don't-
New York State is beautiful, but
That poor city, man.
yeah,
They
got hit so hard. But if you think
well,
about
and
it,
then they got hit hard with the riots,
right?
too.
But if you think about it, you know, New York City itself, it's got to be one of the most densely populated places in the country. You know, everybody is just they're
On top of
always
themselves
on top of
everywhere.
each
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
with the number of population. And you know what? The city's filthy. It is not a clean
There are
city.
parts
Well,
of it,
there's
I'm
parts
sure
of it that are. I
fine,
mean,
but-
last time I've been there was 2013.
Yeah,
And,
I was in a restroom in my hotel that was clean.
I like New York, dude. I don't know why you don't. I think New York is cool. But I mean, I get your point. I think what it is New York over the years has had a failure in leadership.
Right. Oh.
And
yeah.
and that's part of the problem. But,
Yeah, I
And
agree.
I don't really have much of an opinion outside of, you know,
Yeah.
what I might see or hear about, only because I've only connected flights and airports there, and I've never
Yeah,
had a chance.
you've
but
never gone
like,
into the city.
But like my
Yeah.
girlfriend loved it. My kids loved it when they went. They said there were some really neat areas and diversity and
Yeah.
stuff. But But I mean,
no, and don't get me wrong, there are neat places to see, and I mean culturally, I mean, wow.
Yeah, it just seems like you know, there's a lot of shit that goes down there. You know. So, a couple more stories before we end the podcast. The title of not our previous podcast with Mark Casera, but right before that was They Always Happen in Threes. Well, since we recorded that podcast, there were a couple of other aircraft crashes. Up in Alaska, a firefighting plane crashed into one of the rivers. I thought it was a lake when I saw the picture. They've got some big rivers in Alaska.
It's a river.
But everybody survived. All 4 crew members that were on board, so that's good. But holy shit, this Pakistani airliner, this A320, what in the hell happened?
Well, I can't even believe that the pilot or the crew, I guess, because it's both of their faults, that they didn't radio ahead to the tower that they had an emergency. They couldn't lower their goddamn landing gear.
But is it proven that they couldn't lower it? I mean, if they, so it is. They tried to lower and it would not come down.
So what happened is they were configuring the aircraft for landing.
Right, I remember that.
And while they were doing that, they tried to lower the landing gear, and they could not, it wouldn't lower. Okay, it wouldn't go down. So then the crew was trying to focus on, what to do about that or whatever, and they weren't maintaining an altitude that they should. They were too high because they were focusing on all these other things that has to do with the landing gear, and the approach tower, and it might have even been like an approach frequency, I don't remember, but they were telling them, hey, they're too high, do you want to try to set up again and try this approach again and whatever. And the pilot's like, no, the altitude's good, we'll make it work or whatever. But this whole time,
his gear wasn't down.
Right.
The crew was planning on doing a belly landing and didn't even inform the tower that they were going to do it, so they couldn't film the runway.
Do I have to shush you too, brother?
Yes, it's unbelievable.
He wasn't saying much, and he did not say that the landing gear wouldn't come down.
Yeah.
And when you were talking about being not at the proper height, the control tower informed him of that.
Yeah.
And they said, lower your altitude, and he says, adding that the pilot replied, I will manage.
Yeah, that he's okay. That he's got it.
And then
I will manage. Well, it didn't really matter.
And then he told controllers too that we're comfortable now during the approach, but again, never mentioned. So they actually hit the runway with their engines 3 separate times.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen the video. You've seen the skid marks on the run. Skid marks. Yes, I'm childish.
Probably did shit his pants.
Yeah, the engine marks where it rubs on the runway.
Exactly.
You see the different. Yeah, and
so why didn't they just set it down and leave it down?
Well, because part of the problem was he was too high. His approach was too high.
Yep.
And when he got over the numbers, he was too fast and too high to safely do it.
So why touch it down in the first place?
Exactly. Well, why not call for emergency?
Right, exactly. So he touches down 3 times. He destroys the gearboxes in both engines. And so the engines are functioning fine enough to get him back to do a go-around.
The oil and everything.
But he loses everything.
Yeah.
And then he I mean, have you heard the ATC conversation?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's eerie.
Yeah.
And then...
This guy just...
Finally, he calls Mayday, Mayday, Mayday right before they go down. They've lost both engines.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you communicate your situation that the gear wouldn't come down ahead of time?
Yeah.
Let him know. And... why would you even try the approach?
Yeah.
I
mean, I guarantee you a flight crew here in the U.S., when they have a gear issue, their gear won't come down, the first thing they're going to do is let the whatever controller they're talking about, or whether it's tower or approach or whatever, hey, our landing gear, we're going to need to hold for a little bit to try to work this out.
Remember the JetBlue flight a few years back? Or maybe it was more than a few. The one where the nose gear was side. They flew around for hours.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I remember watching the TV report.
Yeah, me too.
And I remember being like, Jesus, like, land already, but they were going over every scenario.
Yeah. They were burning off fuel at the same time.
Like, they weren't just like, fuck it, let's just try.
Right.
And then if they can't get their gear down and they absolutely have to come in on the engines or the belly, they're going to set that up so that the runway is foamed, the emergency personnel are standing by,
right.
Everybody knows what's going on, the airport shut down, like everything. But it's like, it's what did this crew of this Pakistani aircraft, do they just not give a shit?
In a...
doesn't make any sense.
I've jump seated in many, many planes. Mostly the Canadair regional jets.
Yeah.
And if the gear won't lower, there's a handle to lower it manually.
Yeah.
Did they even try that?
Yeah. Who the hell knows?
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't seem like it.
It doesn't. It's just, and okay. Hearts go out to the passengers that lost their lives. Hearts go out to their families. Hearts go out to the crew members. But this is a gross example of airmanship, or lack thereof, I should say. Forgetting to fly the airplane. It sounds to me like they were more concerned with working the problem than flying the airplane, and then all of a sudden they're like almost landing. And it's almost like they didn't realize that they were there.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's awful. And I think that going back to the 737 MAX incidents with Ethiopian Airlines and Lion Air, the level of training outside of the United States of America and Europe, I'm guessing, the level and the standards that they have to maintain, I just think it's lower. I really do.
It's almost like the manufacturers of these aircraft need to band together and sign an agreement that, hey, if we're going to sell our aircraft to these different companies, they have got to abide by high standards of training, of maintenance, of everything.
I mean, that's just, and that would help the aircraft manufacturers in so many cases legally too. Yeah. This is what happened, and I read that, or I hear about this, and I look into it, and obviously we don't know every detail, but I'm always, it always makes me curious, and I've never flown a jet commercially. I've flown airplanes because, I have hours, but never commercially with all that training. But what is it that is said that when you're having a problem, the first thing you have to do, that any pilot we talk to says?
Fly the
airplane. So why, when there are two pilots in the cockpit of an airplane, why can't one of them at least make sure they are flying the airplane? Yes, I know it's a team effort to troubleshoot, but you have two of you. One of you should at least be flying the goddamn airplane.
And there's a term. There is a term for that, and it's called crew resource management, CRM.
Yeah.
And crew resource management was actually developed after a fatal crash where the crew forgot to fly the airplane. I can't remember which one, but there was a specific accident that this actually came out of the final report or recommendations from the NTSB. But obviously, crew resource management was not a part of this. And one more thing I want to say about this. And go back and listen to our episode with Acrojet, When Pigs Fly. That's such a great episode.
I know.
But a gear up landing is a very survivable incident. It's a very survivable thing. And first off, if you drag your engines on the runway, you should know that those engines aren't going to function for very long.
I know.
And so anyway, that's really all I have to say about that. But
like Forrest Gump right there.
That's all I have to say about that.
So
Jenny.
So we've got one more topic we'll talk
transition
about.
to something we don't have to vent about.
Finally, some good news.
Yes.
And I want to, we'll talk about this in a second, but go ahead, Aaron. We'll let you take the lead on this one. Because the events that happened during this week, including the launch, remind me specifically of something, and I want to bring that up here in a minute. But go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah. So God, what was it? May 30th. I just want to make sure I get the date right because I was so excited about that.
Second,
yeah,
first,
yeah.
31st,
So
30th. Yep.
Yep. So on May 30th, SpaceX, which is basically run by Elon Musk.
Yep.
He is their chief engineer, which is.
By the way, congratulations on your new little baby with your girlfriend Grimes, Elon. Love her music.
Yeah, and part of their baby's name is named after the A-12.
I know, right?
Isn't that crazy?
It's so funny.
It is.
I
That's
know.
awesome.
But anyway, SpaceX launched 2 U.S. astronauts from NASA from U.S. soil.
Hell,
made
yes.
From a rocket made here in the United States.
Now, Pad 39A, right?
Yeah, on Pad 39A. That was the last launch pad where the last space shuttle mission was launched about 9 years ago. It was 2011. And
July of 2011.
And what's cool is I remember watching that whole mission on NASA TV, from launch to landing, that long ago, which was pretty cool. But it is pretty cool, and it's a monumental feat. I mean, being able to launch, U.S. astronauts from U.S. soil made on equipment that's made in the USA is absolutely huge.
It is huge.
And we just congratulate, SpaceX and Elon Musk and the astronauts and NASA. And I think it was smart for NASA to go this route by contracting with private companies for innovation. Just imagine how NASA's going to benefit once SpaceX gets their Falcon Heavy rocket going. I mean, Starship and that whole set. Well, not Falcon Heavy. I said Falcon Heavy. That's already in operation. But what I meant to say was the Starship with the whole configuration where they can take it to the moon or Mars.
Well, but
which
the
is
Falcon,
crazy.
The Falcon Heavy, the rocket, those are going to be interchangeable with these different.
Yeah, there's all kinds of.
Exactly.
The innovation that SpaceX has done.
And
is
Boeing,
unbelievable.
Boeing is working on their space, their space program as well.
Yeah.
And so, what's going to be cool is I hope that there's going to be competition going into space. There's going to be different, Virgin Galactic, they're doing their thing. You've got Boeing, you've got SpaceX. There's another company that
Sierra Nevada. There's you've got the Amazon company, or not Amazon.
Amazon Prime.
No. It's Blue Origin.
Falcon 9 Heavy.
Blue Origin.
Oh, Blue Origin. That's right.
Yeah.
So all these different private companies are going to be able to launch people, payload, stuff. And this is going to increase our exploration of space exponentially. I just said exploration and exponentially in the same sense. You say that 3 times, 5 times fast.
Exciting. So exciting. And Tony and I were actually working at a client's house with one of our other businesses. And what was so awesome was they were an elderly couple, and they were just as excited about it as we.
That's great.
I'm working in a room, and she comes in. She's like, "Let me turn the TV on for you," and it was cool for about that 5 minutes. I wasn't fucking thinking about COVID. I wasn't thinking about the riots.
Right?
I wasn't thinking about anything. I honestly felt like I was an American. Proud, watching. I wasn't thinking about anything other than that. This was awesome. I'm in someone else's home, and I'm
the bacon,
teary-eyed.
In bacon, out bacon.
I'm
Western bacon
teary-eyed
cheeseburger or famous star with cheese. Buy one, get one for just $1. Only at Carl's Jr.
Headset. Sorry, we're having some technical difficulties. All of a sudden,
weird.
We got some
Here's a
weird
look.
audio.
This
There was
day
a
in history.
website that I clicked on that's playing audio or
April
something.
4th.
There it is, right there.
Anyway, I was
Congress
just
authorized
filled
the
with
American
so much
flag.
pride.
Yeah,
I was getting all
exactly.
teary-eyed, and would you guys be alright if I played? I took a video of it on my phone.
Yeah.
I just want to play the first 30 seconds of the launch, and I never realized this. Okay, and I'm getting a little teary-eyed just talking about it. I watched it later, and you can just hear I 30 seconds into the launch, I'm like, go baby, go, because I'm like,
I know,
I'm like thinking like, we need this is in the country right now.
badly,
So let me just play it, and you might hear the.
3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff of the Falcon 9 and Crew Dragon. Good NASA, good SpaceX. Godspeed, Bob and Doug.
Bob and Doug, I love it.
You listening?
So rises the new era of American spaceflight, and with it the ambitions of a new generation continuing the dream. 20 seconds into flight, stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
Brothers, we need to go to a
30
lunch.
seconds into this historic mission. Flying crew on board Dragon and Falcon 9 and look at them go. Falcon power to entry nominal. Come on, baby.
Isn't that awesome?
You just want to see it
Oh
go.
yeah,
And
Period of maximum dynamic pressure.
that's awesome.
Isn't
Man.
that awesome?
What a moment. I was standing
So
up in
awesome.
front of the TV the whole time and just cheering it on too. It was. I took a bunch of screenshots and.
so neat.
But yeah, I mean it's so cool. That Crew Dragon vehicle that SpaceX has developed, it's just awesome looking inside. I mean, it basically just looks like a Tesla spacecraft.
It's
so
like-
cool. The big touchscreen.
That's one of the cool things
And-
about SpaceX.
Yeah.
Is when they do that shit, they do it in style.
Oh, they do it right.
Dude, I felt
mean-
like I was watching a movie
Yeah,
about them
right.
like going into space.
Right. Well,
Super sci-fi.
You look at the arm on the launch pad where the astronauts walk down to load into the spacecraft. I mean that whole setup just looks like a movie.
Right.
Yeah.
And
it
that's how
does.
space travel and all the space program should be.
Well, right down
it looks
to
amazing.
right down to the uniform,
Yeah.
or not the uniforms, but the
Yeah, the
spacesuits that
spacesuits
they're
that
wearing,
they wear.
and the headset or the mask.
Yeah.
It's just cool, and the fact that they're
It is
sitting in
cool.
there. And it's all like these aren't just screens; they're touch screens. They are controlling everything from the aircraft. They have a few switches down below. And did you see the transport vehicle to get them from, the building to the actual? It's a Tesla.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Dude,
Yeah. No.
It's just
That's
like I
awesome.
said, so much pride. I just can't even. I can't believe. If someone didn't pay attention to this and watch this and don't understand how cool this is for America, like, I feel bad for that individual, because if you were paying attention to anything else, at least for that couple of minutes, like, come on.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
this was huge.
And to watch Elon Musk too, and to watch the post-launch press conference and everything. I mean, you just got to give it to that guy. He's just so enthusiastic and so genuine.
He is.
And just loves what he does.
I felt
and
so
it's so
united,
cool.
like, with
Oh,
all fellow
yeah,
Americans
absolutely.
over that.
Absolutely.
Like, for a moment, I didn't think about anything other than that being an American, It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is kind of funny. Tony kind of mentioned this Bob and Doug.
I
but
know.
yeah, it's like growing up, one of our favorite movies
Beauty,
was
eh?
Strange Brew.
That's
And
where the
every time
beauty or Good Day comes from.
That's right. Good Day. And Bob and Doug, and I don't know who follows us whoever follows us on Instagram.
Yeah.
We posted a photo of the astronauts.
Right.
And then down below was Bob and Doug,
The McKenzie
from
brothers.
The McKenzie brothers
So-
from the movie, and it said, "Good luck with the launch, eh?"
Do you think while they were in space they ran into any fleshy-headed mutants?
No way, eh? I tell you though, that's so funny.
So-
Bob and Doug.
Oh my God, that's awesome. So, okay, there's a very interesting parallel to this.
Oh, the bowling alleys have been wrecked.
Hey, hey, mutant, are you friendly?
No way, eh?
If you guys haven't seen Strange Brew, you gotta watch it, especially our younger viewers.
Yeah.
It's the dumbest.
Hey, good day. I'm Bob McKenzie. This is my brother Doug. How's it going?
Wait, I gotta play that one more time.
Hey, good day. I'm Bob McKenzie. This is my brother Doug. How's it going, eh?
All right.
You gotta watch
Oh,
that movie. It's
damn,
great.
that is
So, all right, I love history,
Yeah.
And I'm fascinated by history. You know, the Cold War, World War II, just anything that has shaped our country.
Yeah.
And I remember when we, in our last episode with Marcus Serra, he mentioned the movie, what was it? 20 something or 30 something out, 7 anyway.
I don't remember.
The Kevin Costner movie. And it's about the Cuban Missile Crisis.
I remember.
Anyway,
now. I don't remember the
great movie as well. But so let's really quick. What are some of the things that have happened this year in our society before the launch? So of course, you know, in January we have COVID, right?
Mm-hmm.
So COVID surfaces. You know, people start to, or states and governments, they start to, they recommend, you know, they make recommendations, then do the shutdown, they want to flatten the curve. And then we've got a few airliners that have crashed. We've had
fighter jets crash,
right.
snowbird crash.
13 days.
13 days,
Okay.
thank you.
Anyway.
13 days. So we've had political unrest. We've had rioting. There have been huge racial tensions going on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then, back on the 30th, then we have the launch, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is fascinating to me because this is a very interesting parallel to the year 1968.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have seen that the HBO series From the Earth to the Moon, right?
Oh yeah.
That's great.
Tom Hanks, Steven Spielberg got together, and or maybe it wasn't Steven Spielberg. I think he was. Anyway, Ron Howard was involved in that as well. And there's an episode titled 1968, and it's about everything that's going wrong. 1968 was probably one of the craziest years in United States history. So I'm going to list a few of the things that happened in 1968. North Korea War, the Tet Offensive. Martin Luther King was assassinated that year, which led to students and protests all over the world, not just about Martin Luther King,
riots,
but rioting, but also because of the Vietnam War. Bobby Kennedy, who was running for president, was assassinated. The Chicago Democratic Convention, Richard Nixon gets elected to the White House. But guess what the last thing was that happened in 1968? Significant.
I would guess it has to do with the Apollo missions.
The Apollo 8 mission. That's the one where they actually
orbited
they go up
the moon
and they
the
orbit
first
the
time,
moon.
right? Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't it interesting how
it gives me chills to think about
the whole history repeats itself? Isn't that crazy how true that is?
I mean, really, the only thing missing from this list in 1968 is a pandemic.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at all the other parallels that have happened. So I'm thinking about all this. In fact, while I was watching the launch, that immediately popped into my head. It's like, here's all this bad stuff happening right now. People are scared. They're angry. You know, there's tragedies happening. People are out of work. People have lost their jobs. You know, businesses have shut down.
Yeah. And
then amidst all of this stuff, I mean, I'm getting chills just talking about it. It's stupid. But then we have the launch, the SpaceX launch with 2 American crew members, an American-built launch vehicle, and launching from America. So anyway, if you get the chance to watch it, I believe it's on HBO now. It's now on HBO. It's on the actual app HBO Now. But you can watch it. The whole series is amazing about the Apollo program.
Apollo 8 was where that famous footage that Jim Lovell, I think it was Jim Lovell that took the video, the photos of the Earthrise coming up, you know, over the moon surface when they were orbiting, when they were coming around the Earth, or the moon, which is amazing. I mean, I still can picture those.
I knew right.
You know, that footage. You know, and I think that's what the famous image is called is Earthrise.
Earthrise,
like that.
yeah. So,
but, that's incredible.
Anyway, for all you youngsters out there, you're welcome for the little history lesson. For you old farts like me, you guys, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Now, I was born in '67, so in 1968, I had no clue what was going on.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting and glad to know that I was alive during that.
And during that launch too, you know, I was really young. I think I was. When did Challenger?
86.
January 25th, 1986.
So that means I was 6 years old, you guys, and I still remember watching that launch and watching it happen. I thought I was older because I can remember it picture it so well. But that's why when I was watching this launch, just because of everything that's taken place, that's why it was so emotional for me, because even though I've watched other launches since the Challenger, this one I just knew how big it was for like our country right now, you know. Not that all the others weren't, but like for some reason my mind went to that, and I'm just like, please let these guys be safe, you know. So I was so glad that everything went well, and
and Elon Musk during the post-launch press conference is like, hey, there's still a lot of work to do. We still have to bring them home safely. And and then we'll know, that what we built here is really truly extraordinary.
Dude, those rockets that the boost that land on that pad.
How
cool is that?
And they landed the main core of the Falcon 9 on their drone ship.
Dude.
Well, not only is it just impressive that they can land one of their rockets back at the Cape on one of the landing pads, but to actually land one on a ship out in the middle of the ocean that's moving and swaying, and it is unbelievable what SpaceX
unprecedented,
does. See,
dude, and all the money it saves.
Well,
just in recovery,
it's unbelievable.
This is the result of involving private industry. These innovations,
the resources that come about are just
absolutely
crazy, and the resources on the other flip side that they don't have to use. They don't have to send out manpower and helicopters and ships to recover. Like, they just basically land it and then just drive it home.
Well, I was reading a price comparison between SpaceX and Boeing as far as flying to the International Space Station, because Boeing, like Tony mentioned, is also working on a spacecraft that will be able to be used to ferry astronauts to and from the International Space Station. And the cost difference between what Boeing does and what SpaceX does is no pun intended, astronomical. I mean, it's $55 million to for a flight to the International Space Station. Now, the one thing I don't know if that was per astronaut or if that was per flight, but I think it's per flight. $55 million per flight to use SpaceX, $90 million to use Boeing. Wow. I mean, it's unbelievable the difference.
Double.
And it's because of the innovations that SpaceX has been able to place into their equipment and their technologies. And I mean, we love Boeing and we love SpaceX, but it's just Boeing is, as far as the innovation goes, is still kind of stuck with the old way of thinking.
Right.
As is NASA. Like, I mean, you look at the Artemis missions and they're still using expendable rockets, and the cost to do that is just, no pun intended, astronomical. And so what SpaceX is doing is absolutely, it's unprecedented and it's unbelievable, and hats off to them. I mean, it's amazing to follow along their journey, like on social media it's
you
amazing.
guys are on YouTube. They've got lots of great content on YouTube. So getting back to SpaceX and the cost versus them and Boeing, when you're launching humans or payload into space, the bottom line is weight. Period. That's how the price is calculated. It's because
it's weight
the more
and
weight there is,
the equipment.
the more fuel you need to get up there, right? So you make the equipment more efficient, lighter weight, reusable. I mean, so many different factors.
When you look at the cockpit of the space shuttle,
It's a flight deck.
Cockpit.
No, it's a cockpit.
Yeah, it's a cockpit.
We
resolved
settled that.
that.
I know we did.
We
We
resolved
did.
that.
I'm just
when they were showing camera
being neat.
footage. How cool was that freaking heads-up display, like the glass cockpit?
Oh my
like
God! Yes.
state of the art. Like,
and
it
just
was
seeing
so
the
cool.
astronauts just using the touch screen
as opposed to flipping all millions of switches, and which in its own way, the space shuttle is badass because it's classic, but like just the new technology and
exactly.
Something on a funnier note, did you guys watch when Bob and Doug first came out of their
the Dragon
Dragon to like go into the space station? Didn't you watch that? So did you notice? And I rewatched it because it was so funny to me. I don't know if it was Bob and Doug because the camera was a little further away, and I don't know exactly who was who, to be honest. But like when he first came in, like it was one of those like awkward handshake hug things. Like like he put out his hand to shake, and the other guy like just wanted to hug. So it was kind of like quick handshake, quick hug.
I did see that.
It was like that awkward moment when you're not sure if it's right to handshake or hug, and it was just so funny because it turned into both. It was like a handshake and then a big hug.
Welcome to the International Space Station, eh?
Bob and Doug are probably so used to not shaking hands, being on Earth.
That's why
that's right.
That's why it
I'm
was
sure
so
that's
funny.
what it was.
That's why it was so funny to me,
Yeah.
because it was
Yeah.
kind of like he went
funny.
to shake hands, and then you realize immediately he's like, oh fuck, I'm not gonna shake hands for this.
And then he's like, oh yeah, we need to hug
this
and
is
shake
awesome.
hands.
So
it is
It
kind
was
of
so
hard
cool.
to practice social distancing on the International Space Station.
well, if there's anyone that's probably the healthiest without any symptoms
Or
anywhere,
or
it's gonna
germs.
be astronauts.
Right.
Not only the astronauts that went up there, but the ones that were already up there.
Yeah.
I mean, they're off the damn planet, so they're not gonna catch anything.
Pretty amazing. I'm so excited to see what's next, and I can't wait for us to go back to the moon. I can't wait for us to go to Mars. And
can I mention to go to the Ramp Swag store and get our Dragon, or not Dragon, the
Falcon 9,
Falcon 9.
Dragon.
Jesus, there's so many
rocket
different names I'm
shirt
trying to
that we
remember.
have.
Yeah, go on to the Ramp
Made and
Swag
launched
store.
in the USA.
That's right, and get you an American flag Falcon
definitely
t-shirt
Pretty cool,
to support
the 4th
us
of
and the space program.
4th of July is coming up, so there are lots of U.S. flag designs.
Yeah, order ASAP
Yes.
because COVID is still delaying shipments on everything that we produce, and it's beyond our control, so we apologize. But yeah, if you want something for the 4th of July, you need to order it this week.
Yeah, I would say this
Order
week
now.
for sure. I'm still waiting on my B-21 Raider T-shirt.
Yeah.
That I ordered, but anyway, so again, kind of similar back to 1968. I know we're only into June, but what a way to put some positive out there in with all the negative that's going on. So, what else do we talk about, brothers? I think that was probably
we covered a lot of stuff.
The pinnacle,
We're a little over an hour and a half, so we should probably call it.
Definitely. We have teased a few things before, but we've got some really exciting things coming up here with the Rampcheck podcast and Rampcheck Global. Like I mentioned, we are actually recording video of the podcast, and we'll see exactly how that turns out. But the Rampcheck YouTube channel is... it's coming, people. In fact, it's already there.
It's in the works.
We've got some of that F-117 footage that we put up that Fast sent to us.
Yep.
So that's actually on there. It's just YouTube. We are at just Rampcheck Global on YouTube, and we want to get the podcast up there so you can see it in video form. one way or another. That's one thing that we're working on. And also, for those of you that are familiar out there, I'm just going to say this. I'm going to put it out there. For those of you that would like to support the Rampcheck podcast, not just by listening and sharing and subscribing, which we always ask you to do, we're also going to give you an opportunity to help support us in a way that we can bring you more content. We can bring you better content on different platforms. I'm just going to say the word Patreon is coming soon, and we'll get more details about that. But in the meantime, thank you everybody who has been with us. We are episode number 53 now.
Crazy.
And we're over 8,000 followers on Instagram.
Over 81.
Yeah, actually, that's right. I checked
Almost
that.
82.
Close to 82. We want to hit that magic 10,000 mark as soon as possible. So if you can share us with anybody, let's get those followers up. One thing I like is we've built this thing organically.
Yes.
And that's you guys, our listeners, our followers on Instagram. You guys are the reason for that. And we certainly appreciate it. Don't forget to go to our aerospace and aviation news website. It's called Rampcheck Report. Just go to rampcheckglobal.com. You'll be able to click a link there to get the Rampcheck Report. It's got all of the aviation aerospace news that you can handle. It's all in one easy, digestible place. And then, of course, while you're listening to the Rampcheck podcast, you can browse the Ramp Swag store. Like Ryan mentioned earlier, lots of great designs. And if you want to get your Rampcheck Global, your Ramp Swag with the U.S. flag on it for Independence Day that's coming up, get your orders in this week, because like Aaron said, there have been some delays. Hopefully that won't last too much longer. So once again, everybody, thank you so much for listening to the Rampcheck podcast. Aaron, where can they find you on social media?
At Aaron Rumfollow on pretty much any social media, Instagram, Twitter, and then, of course, Facebook. But follow at Rampcheck Global for all the avgeekery stuff, obviously. And like Tony said, rampcheckreport.com, rampcheckglobal.com. We've got a lot of exciting things we're working on to bring more content to everybody. Thank you to our followers. Thank you for our supporters and our customers with the Ramp Swag store as well. Our guests. We absolutely could not have created this podcast and had it continue on without great guests. We get lots of feedback at how great our guests are, and we appreciate each and every one of those guests. It's an honor for us to have you on. It's an honor for us to discuss, your history and everything that you've done in aviation. And we appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Well said. Is this BH World?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, since we're recording a video version of the podcast, I just want to show the awesome BH World sticker that you sent us. This is classic, dude. I love it.
I know.
Anyway,
it's so fun.
Ryan, what about you? Where can people find you on social media?
You can find me at Follow me on Instagram, and it's the same on Twitter. Although I haven't really been doing much on that lately, just because it's been. I know I said that last time. My Instagram page, I just don't post much on it. But as of late, I've just kind of been trying to stay in a positive state of mind, and that's been hard to find lately. But
right.
But yeah, and I wanted to mention too, if you go to the Ramp Swag store at rampcheckglobal.com, we have awesome, I don't know what you'd call them, Justice for All shirts or whatever. We've got some cool swag on there just in light of the recent events, and I think those shirts are really awesome as well. You can go on there and check them out if that's what you want to do, and we'd love to, have you buy some of those, and appreciate all the support. And we here at the Rampcheck podcast support everybody and love everybody and stay safe, and that's all I got.
Sounds great. Well, thank you, brother.
You're welcome.
You can find me at TRumFollow on pretty much most of the social media platforms. I don't post a ton on my personal stuff, but there are some entertaining things, and I go on a few rants myself on the current state of things. But anyway, definitely follow me there. Once again, please listen to the Rampcheck podcast, share it with your friends and family, subscribe where you can, and leave us a 5-star rating and a review. You can especially do that, of course, on Apple Podcasts. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, really all of the podcasting platforms. If you have podcasting as one of the skills available for Alexa, you can tell Alexa to play the Rampcheck podcast. In fact, we'd love to hear from you. Because we all have Siri. We really don't have Alexa, but although at Mom's we do. Ask Alexa to play the Rampcheck podcast and give us your feedback. Let us know if it works. You can also go, hey, Google, play the Rampcheck podcast. Let us know if that's working for you, because if it's not, then we can take some steps to make it do that. But thanks again for listening to the Rampcheck podcast. Get yourself some Ramp swag. If you haven't listened to all of our episodes, start with this one, go all the way back to number 1, or go from number 1 and work your way all the way back up. You're at home, you're not doing much. Well, no, you're doing a little bit more right now, which is good. But thanks again for your support. Keep listening to the podcast. Look for this episode on the Rampcheck podcast on YouTube as well.
If the video turns out.
As long as the video turns out.
We're still experimenting.
Yeah, we're still experimenting. The first one might be a little bit rough, but hey, you got to start somewhere. And, by the way, I know this will actually be kind of outdated a little bit by the time you hear this, but as soon as we wrap up recording the podcast, we are heading up to Hill Air Force Base in Ogden, Utah. We're going to be shooting some video and some pictures of Kristen Bale Wolf, of course, flying the F-35 demo team pilot, which is based here in Ogden, Utah. So we're excited to go do that, and we're excited to get another edition of the podcast up. Ryan?
Time for me for the send-off. Here, we'll leave it to Doug today.
Good day, I'm right in your ear.
Good day, everyone.
Good day. Good day, I'm right in your ear.